Hi everybody, welcome to episode 2 where we're going to talk about arrow stains. Action!
Yeah. Alright, like my lovely assistant said, we are going to talk about arrow stains. To be honest with you, this is one of the easiest ways you can change the look of your arrows. It doesn't require a whole lot of equipment, as you're about to see. And really, the True North arrow stain is one of the easiest ones I've used. It has great coverage, and as you can see, a variety of colors. Alright, so the next thing we're going to do is put a body stain on these arrows. So I've marked my line, and we're going to put some stain on. True North offers just about any color you can think of. From yellow, this is a black mahogany, blue, purple, orange, white, and one of my favorites so far is just a regular mahogany. So the reason why I'm showing you the bottom of the bottle is that, you know, there's some solids in here, so they will settle. Got to get them, shake them up. Nice thing about this line is everything's compatible. Like I said, it's water-based, so you can mix it and get a custom color of whatever you want. Now you'll notice, like I said, there's no order to this, so you could do this in the house, but we got to be smart about it. It will stain your clothes and stuff, so I usually throw this on because my wife gets tired of me trashing all my clothes when I'm in here. The other thing is prepare your surface so you can do some work because you're going to make a mess. Now we're in my shop. This is our old house. It used to be where the cooktop would sit. This is actually our old kitchen. I've got just a piece of shelving material on here and stuff, but I still put some old newspaper down to try to keep this clean because I'm doing various other tasks on here and it just keeps a cleaner work surface. One of the coolest things I've tried and used is if you can go to a secondhand store or a Goodwill or something, get yourself an old cookie sheet. That's a nice tray with an edge on it, so if you do happen to spill this stuff, it doesn't run off onto the floor over the cabinets and stuff. So you can usually get them for a couple bucks, and if they get too nasty and that kind of stuff, just pitch them. The other thing, just some tips and tricks I use these little plastic cups like you get at the restaurants for putting sauces or condiments in for takeout. I get them at the restaurant supply store. They're great. They're just little solo cups. That way, instead of having this whole bottle and chance spilling this over and dumping the whole thing, I have a smaller cup with it, so I'll just pour it in there. And this also is good for mixing different colors in if you want that custom look. I like a foam brush. You can use a rag in there, but this will give me a nice straight line. The one tip I'll give you with these is I will get this wet first and then wring it out, because I find that if I go into the stain with just a dry sponge, it'll soak up a lot of stain and end up losing a bunch. Just wring it out real well so that it doesn't dilute out your stain either, and you can get the color that you're looking for. Next thing you're going to want is a bunch of paper towels, just in case you spill, and then also in case you do leave a line or whatnot, you can blend it out with your paper towel and get a nice look on your arrow shaft. The other thing I use are gloves. Like I said, after I stain these arrows, I'll move on to another project here in the house or in the shop. And again, it's a stain. Even though it's water-based, it'll wash off. It will stay in your hands for a little bit. So I got my brush wet. I wrung it out with my hands, and now I'm just going to give it a kind of a final pat in my paper towel. So it's just kind of damp. We've mixed this up real well. And we're going to pour it in our cup. So I normally pour enough to get, about a quarter of one of these little cups. They'll do a whole dozen. I'll put the cap back on, so if that spills, again, I'm only spilling just that little bit, not this. Alright, so when I'm doing this, nice thing I like about the foam brush is it's got that nice chiseled point there, so you can get a good line on your arrow shaft. So dip a little bit here, get some stain on there. And what I'll do is I'll put it on here and I'll bump up to the line, And then I'll spin my shaft so that I get a nice, see if that'll come out on camera there. You get a nice edge with that. Then from there, just work down the rest of your shaft. Now, you'll notice that some parts are darker than others as you start to go through this, because as you take the stain off of your brush, it kind of varies on there. So what you got to do is, even though you've got stain down here on there, brush over it again and kind of smooth it out. This is where you want to blend your stain on there. If it's coming out too dark, that rag that we use to take a lot of the moisture out, you can get that rag and start from the top and pull away, and it'll take it out. Now if you do that, you'll see a lot more of the grain, which is cool. I like the way that looks. So, and it also, I've noticed that if I leave it on there for longer, the darker it'll get as it's soaking into the wood a little bit. So play with it. Figure out what look you want to go for, and then you just got to remain consistent with it throughout the dozen if you want that uniformity. Okay, so I did the tip there. Again, I'm going to blend it this way. And now I get a nice even shaft. You get to see some of the grain differences, and I really like the way the Doug fir looks once you run the stain on it. So I'm going to zip through the dozen now. Nice thing too about this stain is that it's not like you're putting a bunch on there, so it's not like when you're dipping the sealer. You don't have to hang it up on your drying rack. I can just set it on the counter here. We'll flip it up so same as the other one. Rest it up on the counter and it doesn't make a mess. I'll stain all these up and then we'll move on to that. So as you can see, I got these all stained up, ready to go. I wish it's going to end it with that, but then I started thinking, you know what, it's springtime. I was in my shaft room. I ended up finding a dozen Sitka spruce shafts that I've had for a while, so I decided, you know what, let's do those too, but let's do them in a green. So I'm going to make these up. Got them all tapered up. I'm going to put some lines on them, and we'll do a green color so you can see what that looks like. What I'm going to do with these arrows is I'm going to split the crown limb. Instead of putting one mark at 9 inches, I've actually added another mark down here at 11.5. So I'm going to stain down below the 11.5 mark, have one little band of natural there in the middle. That sometimes is a cool look. Thing about using these little cups, I'm going to go here over the sink. You can pour it back in the bottle and save some of your stain. See where I had more than enough to do a dozen there, and that's just a quarter of the cup. This stuff goes a long ways. Keep your lid on and don't set it in the windowsill and stuff. It'll last. Like I said, for cleanup, you can see where I did get stain on my gloves, so I like the gloves. These brushes will last a long time. The edge will start to lose its sharpness and stuff. That's usually when I pitch them. I usually buy these by the case. The one thing you want to be careful of is if you're doing multiple dozens, try not to mix. Even though they rinse out, they will still carry a little bit of stain, and I've had some where I might use it on a purple or red, and as I'm staining another dozen, after a while that dried stain will start to get wet and it'll start to come out, and then all of a sudden as I get towards the end of the dozen, there'll be a little more red, or there'll be a little variation in color. So what I'll do is I'll rinse this out real well, but I'll actually write on the handle the color that it's for. Okay, so we're gonna let the green ones dry just a little bit longer. We're gonna give them a few hours, I would say, for today. Joe recommends that you wait at least 4 hours before you move on to the next step to allow them adequate time to dry. Again, that's going to be dependent on the humidity and where you're doing this work at. If you're fortunate enough to have it indoors, heated indoors, that you can go a lot quicker. I find that during the summer months when the humidity's down, the temperature's up, you can push them a little faster. During the winter when it's cold and humid, it's got to be a little bit longer. So feel them, make sure they're not damp. Good way to check them is to get a paper towel and rub it on there and make sure that you don't have stain getting onto your towel. Like, see, these are actually looking pretty good. It's been about an hour since I've completed them, but again, we're inside the heated shop. I've got about, it's about 65 degrees inside. Anyways, make sure you have enough time to let them dry. If not, then you'll contaminate your tube when you go to seal them up. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Please leave a comment and a like if you choose to do so. I'd sure appreciate it. The next episode, we're going to talk about sealers, specifically the True North line. I think I'm going to do the brown in a gloss, and I'll do the green in a satin so you can see the difference. If you like this, what you're watching, please give us a like, leave a comment below. Let me know if there's anything you want me to cover in the next episode, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.